Great. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 1 o'clock. And we'll start with a moment of reflection. Thank you. I'll read the Indigenous Acknowledgement Statement. We would like to begin our meeting by recognizing First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards of the land. The municipality is located within the boundary of Treaty 18, region of 1818, which is the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wyandot peoples. We're on the approval of the agenda. I'd like to do two things. Under G, I'd like to add the board assembly report that Marie has arranged for us to receive an email. That's the first, well, the only item under G at this point, other business. And because of people's schedules, I would like to move the closed session to the very next thing on the agenda. So can I, if people are okay with that, may I have a mover and seconder for the agenda be approved? So I saw Carol, so looking straight at her. And I saw Marie. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And then I would like a motion that with regard to section 16.1, subsection 4 of the Public Libraries Act, that this board move into closed session to conduct the CEO's annual evaluation. And apologies to anybody who's watching online, but we're moving this to the beginning. So is that mover and seconder, please, for that motion? Chris and, sorry, Joanne and Sean. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The board has risen from closed session at 1:40 and received the recommendations from the closed session. And I'd just like to say that one of our recommendations was to commend our CEO on her achievements and the ability to hit the road running and significant relationship building skills. Thank you. Okay, now, so back onto the main agenda, and the first item is a declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature of, if any. Okay, seeing none. So we have a number of reports we received as information. The first one is action plan update November, the policy review, video surveillance policy, museum collections policy, new and DX session request, 2025 BNPL holiday schedule, the CEO service update for November, and the board evaluation report for 2024. May I have a mover and seconder to receive those? John? Seconder? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. That's received. Yes, it's carried. Chris, are you still on?
Yep.
Okay, so jump in for motions and just say yay or nay or something, please. Previous minutes. So we have some minutes from October 17, 2024. Are there any questions or errors or omissions on that? Changes you'd like to see?
I wrote two things down. I'm just trying to understand my notes. One is when we talk about the IDEA committee, could we clarify that that is a Blue Mountain committee? Yes.
So I would have probably in the motion about whether Jen was involved in that. There was a motion regarding her co-chair for the IDEA committee.
Yeah, this is the agenda, that's why I can't see. Yeah, I just thought it would be worth pointing out that that is a time.
It is in the, I would have done this for Andrew. It's in the motion, but are you saying you want it reflected also here, so by the town committee? Were you okay with that?
Okay. So, is that already there?
It's in the motion.
Okay, then I missed it, sorry. And then the other thing I wrote down was, there's another question about business horizon. The start report on accessibility should, like, where does that fall after we discuss it? Should it be in business horizon or is it under the community hubs report under the action plan? It's just more of a logistical.
I think it's under the action plan because nothing will happen since the month.
Okay.
And business horizon would be typically then discussing at this meeting, but there's nothing to discuss yet.
I just have never really been clear about business horizon and it's an ongoing initiative.
Yeah. Well, also business arising, normally you catch it on the agenda already, so you don't need to have it on business arising because it shows up under, in our case, the strat plan.
Right, so then, should we just leave it there just in case there's an odd something that doesn't fit anywhere else?
Yeah, and it's one that's really the order, so it's just there. But using business horizon very often.
I have a question. This is one. A training. We mentioned, we spoke about the various training that we've done, and just my question is just, do we have to follow for the specific period of things that we've done?
And the action plan itself says in progress.
And that we sort of went on the table and it sounded like we completed everything, so it was more either we have completed.
I think the action plan probably should indicate that it's completed this year.
And that's right, and it was more that you actually need something from us to say, here are the things that we've done. I did.
I don't think so. I can just mark that as completed in January. Any other questions on the minutes? In which case, we have moving seconded to approve the minutes of October 17th as circulated. Seconded. Marie, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. It was carried. There's no business arising from the minutes. There are no deputations. There's no one to provide public input to the agenda. And there are two pieces of correspondence. Did we actually? We didn't receive the correspondence, did we? I didn't think of it. So is there anything you want to say, particularly about the correspondence? The agenda?
I actually do have a question. Just would the board like to receive I think it's 3 times a year, the CFLA will release a newsletter. Is this valuable information for the board just to see sort of what's happening in Canada? Because I don't know 100% if we've shared these in the past, but it came through and I thought it would be good information to share. Actually, Lori had mentioned in a conversation, do our policies actually cite the CFLA's statements on, say, I think in this particular newsletter, it was something to do with
intellectual freedom for children and youth.
Yeah, intellectual freedom for children and youth. I took a look at a couple of our policies, and for the most part, we either cite or will have an appendix to an Ontario Library Association statement. Often they adopt the Canadian statement, so they are, for the most part, consistent. But traditionally, we've only cited sort of the Ontario versus Canada-wide.
So the youth, where is that in
It is.
there? Intellectual freedom, is that the anti-book banning? Is the way to say that?
It would be related, yes.
I'm in favor of anything we can do to reinforce our commitment to whatever we can, intellectual freedom. It's a nice way of saying it.
And this is it here, and it was just updated in April.
Yeah, do not make assumptions with sentence, but the users, it's beautiful.
Do you need time to look at that relationship to what we've actually approved in the past?
I think so, yeah. I think that would be helpful. I mean, it's something I can consider doing policy review moving forward too. But I would, yeah, I need to double check as well, because if the OLA has already adopted it, it might be a little bit
Right.
redundant, or the other side of it would be, do you just cite both?
Yeah.
So that you're highlighting both a provincial and sort of federal commitment to some of these, principles, I guess, of liberation.
I think we should support our Canadian Association. I know with nursing, it's been really tough. With Canadian Nurses Associations lost a lot of members, and we should have building back up. But it's just important, right? Because you think, oh well, it's just another group. What are they doing? But, we have to support. They work for us, really.
We do sometimes federal level can be determined provincial, so I think it's good. Really great. Critical is to review both of this and make sure that we're consistent.
I'm just thinking, this is the Canadian Federation of Library Associations. So I think the Ontario Library Association would have been involved in this. So that's one of the reasons I'm thinking we may want to take a look at, maybe we've already done this, because Ontario would have been involved in the development of this. The other thing, there's also another federal level group called the Canadian Library Association, not the Canadian Federation of Library Associations. Right? So, yeah, I don't know whether they've gotten into the mix on this. Maybe it's been handled by these guys. So I think I don't disagree at all what it says. I just want to make sure we don't end up with like
45 different
Yeah,
endorsements
yeah.
and no contact.
yeah. You end up confusing yourselves with
Yeah.
anything.
We could leave that to Jen's.
And I thought that Canadian Braille magazine was really interesting.
Great. It was so funny. I had a memory of going to that restaurant with my dad as a really young kid, and driving by it, I thought, no, it couldn't have been that. It doesn't look like a restaurant. And then I was reading the and I was like, yeah, what's that restaurant?
This may come up it would have come up when we moved to the action plan, but the film on the Craigleith station is actually going to premiere this December. So the filming is complete, yes. So it's not quite up on our website just yet. We were just kind of ironing out those details, but yeah, so that will premiere this year. I'm really flash.
It was a great
December 18th is your birthday?
Yeah.
Mine's the 22nd.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that.
It was lovely to read. Do they have I guess do they have a wide distribution? I just think.
And maybe a question we can ask Alicia when she comes on the call.
Is that something we can
Yeah,
highlight to the council?
it would be great.
Yeah.
Illustrated communications.
Yeah.
And they will also get, actually, I think we do, we just send minutes when it's on the phone.
What's interesting to me was, I have, ancestors that, as soon as the train opened up, and it was about 1880, moved from south up to Muskoka. So when I was reading this, I thought, aha, that makes sense. So it was really meaningful, not just from the
Mhm.
library board's perspective, but
Mhm.
personally, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, very neat. Okay, so should we move on to action planning, F1, and we have the action plan update for November. I have asked Jen to, for the January meeting, and whoever's the new chair, I'll be working with you and sort of transitioning to the next meeting in particular. And to show what was the final status of each of these items in 2024 and what's getting carried to 2025. And that starts to get our action plan for 2025 laid out. And then, yeah, because I'm feeling there's a bit of there's still like a month and a half for them to complete stuff. So we're not complete at this point. So I think we need to see the final in January. So let's see here.
I can make a
Any,
comment.
okay, you start. Good.
So I did look at this a lot more thoroughly. And the one thing I will point out was an error in my stat reporting. I revisited, this has come up at multiple meetings.
Yeah.
I think the last meeting was a really big red flag for me, so I did look into it with Emma, who wasn't here at the very beginning of the year, when I was sort of going through and learning how, we collect program stats, reflecting on stuff from last year. There was an error in how many programs specifically for seniors we hosted in 2023. So we are well on track, and we will, not only at the last meeting, I mentioned we had surpassed how many participants we had in our seniors programs. That statistic was correct. But we also will be surpassing the amount of programs specifically for seniors. We have a couple of seniors programs happening in December, so I can update that stat in January to reflect the end of the year. But I thought that was an important thing to point out, considering this comes up.
I saw that.
And that was my
And
fault.
the
Yeah, that was good.
programs, again, are the sessions, right?
Yes.
Yes, not, yeah.
That's correct. In my cover report too, so I did identify sort of 6 items that will be, and this would be, in January, I can kind of reflect it on the actual template, so it's a visual, but there are 6 items that were identified to be carried over into 2025. A lot of them are, again, sort of those multi-year projects that we already talked about, things related to expansion, applying the SROI to public presentations, that's ongoing, but also will be integrated into the 30th anniversary plans. So the language might change a little bit in the 2025 action plan, but the sort of the measure and what we're aiming to do with that is the exact same. I have a very brief update on the charitable status. I have been going back and forth with our lawyers. I'm at the point where I have to provide a bunch of information to update our board members, things like that, so I can actually get access to the online account through the CRA so that I can submit the application form. So honestly, it's just been a bit of an administrative nightmare, but we're making progress. It will not be done this year though. So that's, I think, probably the first real update I gave on that particular item. With that said though, we have had over $25,000 in successful grants this year, so it hasn't held us back too much, but it will open up.
So do you think that's
More
something you'd be able to
opportunities.
do in the first quarter of next year?
Maybe not the first quarter. I think that would be a little ambitious. I've also never done this before, so I don't know how long, even from like a processing.
Oh, that's true,
That
yeah.
would take.
Yeah.
But a lot of the back, like the collecting of information that you need for the application, Sabrina did quite a bit of that. So maybe second quarter, but I don't know 100% just because I've actually never done it before. I've seen the application. I know what questions to anticipate, but sort of that processing part and getting my name on the account, I have no idea how long that takes. But that's kind of where we're at. The Real History film, the second one, The Journey of Water, filming will continue into the winter, the first quarter of 2025. But we are aiming for a release date in late 2025. Probably will be integrated into 30th anniversary plans as well. But there are a number of items I identified that I'm anticipating and have no concerns to be completed by the end of the year. And a lot of them are reporting on statistics for the most part. But also there's the report that I'll have to do of the audit of the accessibility stuff at the depot. But I have been working with the manager of facilities on some of that stuff. Might have got that title wrong. I've been working with Phil, so I'm confident that I'll have that report done for the January meeting.
Where is that?
It would be in the actual plan.
Oh, it's in the actual plan, okay.
Yeah, CH 1.2, participate in a physical audit of land spaces.
Oh,
So
right, yeah.
I'll just be using a similar framework and template that was used for the audit of Ellie
Oh,
Shore.
I wasn't sure that was the accessibility audit.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that, okay.
and then it'll be a matter of, if Phil and I have already talked about,
Yeah, what's the plan?
identifying who's responsible for what, so, that report should be coming to the board at the January meeting.
To that point, because I made the same assumption. I had a question, where's the accessibility
Yeah.
report? Maybe we could just call it physical audit in bracket accessibility report, because the physical audit could encompass a number of other things, just space utilization, like it's a general term, but if we're,
Sure.
just so we know.
So I just wanna double check CH 1.2. Yes, okay.
And some of
Okay.
these things, like, do we review the policies every year?
Not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily. We have a bit of a mix of what we review on an annual basis and what just sort of comes up as
Okay.
needed.
Because sometimes, like, if it's ongoing, like, you say it's done, but then you're just gonna plunk it back in to the next year, right? Like,
Yeah, because you had OE 2.3, which was conduct a thorough review of policy. You had that in completed, and then you also had that in continuation.
Well,
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
oh yeah, I didn't notice
that could have
that.
been an administrative error on my part, but I could actually ask for clarification too, because obviously we've reviewed a number of policies this year. There are a few policies coming to the board today, that arguably we did look at them with an IDEA lens, but not every single library policy, so it could be complete in the sense, okay, I could report on how many policies were reviewed this particular year, but I do see it as ongoing because
Yeah,
there are policies we haven't taken a look at yet, and there are things that could be updated, just language wise, not even necessarily like really concrete.
so maybe it's the wording, conduct a thorough review of all policies. So
Yeah.
we've already done a lot of the policies. So maybe conduct a thorough review of remaining policies or something that,
For 2020.
yeah, for 2025.
Yeah, I
That
like
probably makes
that, yeah.
sense. Yeah. Okay.
So this is, going to get moved to 2025 ultimately?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I can still report on how many policies
Yeah.
we reviewed this year.
We did a lot.
Yes.
And you just mentioned the IDEA lens one, so that's actually under CH 1.2 about reducing barriers. And you didn't comment on that.
Okay, sorry, which one?
CH 1.2 is revise GLAM policies with an IDEA lens.
Okay, I thought that's what we were talking about.
No, just now we were talking about this one, which you had listed on both your
Done and-
done and will
and
be in
be-
2025. Which
You
is,
just had the exact
which is
same
probably
wording.
true.
that We were done and then we were gonna do it again. That was,
Okay, This is the one then I imagined would continue into
This being which one?
the land policies.
Okay.
With an
Okay.
ideal end would be
that's
on
gonna
the,
So you can change that wording above.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
okay.
Okay. And only 2.3 written down. I have that one, yeah. So the only other item I had a question about, you guys may yet have others, is, under OE 4.1, we have our meet semi-annually with council members. And I don't know that any of us have had that, and made contact in the fall at all.
I have great conversations with myself all the time.
I know, mirror on the wall, what do I think today? Do we have anything in particular we want to be meeting with them at this stage, or are we kind of sort of midway with, you know, Voltage presented, there were not a lot of questions, they seem very happy with the stuff, so I don't feel like we need to go back and say, we're here to address the questions you
Yeah.
had, because there weren't any. So I don't feel that we need to visit around that, and as far as space stuff, we're kind of
In the middle.
in the middle.
Yeah.
So unless other people feel that we should be trying to connect at this stage.
I don't. I thought it was such a good session, the way they came over at the end, like Paula and, I don't know where
Yeah.
you were you
June.
there? June? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, very collegial and
Yeah.
informal and,
And I
Yeah.
think that's the fruit of having created some of these
relationships.
personal
Yeah,
contacts, is that they now feel comfortable come chat with us as people.
yeah.
Sorry, Chris, were you trying to get in on something? No. Discussion? Uh-oh. The owl here squawked, that's all. He's a squawker. Julie, were you saying something? I interrupted you, I think. I
No.
interrupted somebody. Anyway, okay. Nobody remembers either. Okay.
No, I would agree that I mean, unless, reach out, because Paul and I had a good conversation, but more about her writing than anything. So, but again, you get into Christmas time and it's getting to be busy, so it's.
Okay.
The only other thing I'll mention is there's the, I know that this isn't the actual title, but sort of those coffee with council opportunities coming up. There's one, I think, on the 27th,
Next Wednesday,
is it? Yes.
Wednesday, I'm making pancakes, y'all come on.
In Ravenna.
That's,
The pancake party.
it's pancake party,
That's the last one of the year, and I mean, I can send out information to the board about it. And then there's a few in the new year. I can't remember the
they
dates,
keep
but I
getting
can.
kind of bumped around a little bit.
Yeah.
Because one of them, we're trying to partner with Chamber League.
Okay.
I don't know, it keeps, there's the New Year ones are getting moved around a little bit, but yeah, the next one's next Wednesday, 8 AM,
Oh, 8 to 9?
8 till 10,
8 to 10?
And it is open to the public.
everybody. Yeah.
But it could be kind of like a nice informal setting. It just, I guess, would depend on what you want to talk to
That's
people about.
totally the design, informal.
Yeah, and sorry, that's at Ravenna Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be there bright and early.
Making the pancakes.
Yeah. I've got, I just got the maple syrup dropped off to my house yesterday by a neighbor of mine that makes it himself, like right out of the trees.
Yummy.
Right out of the trees in Ravenna, so. Yeah. Worst thing is he put a pump top on it. I was like, well, that's not gonna go well.
You're gonna lose all your maple syrup.
Where is the accessibility plan actions? Where are they, the follow-up, like,
I haven't submitted like a thorough follow-up report.
okay,
But the
is that,
audit itself is on SharePoint.
no, I know where, like, I'm just wondering, what are we doing with it? Because then, because there was a lot of, recommendations.
Yeah, so I'll bring a report to the board at the January meeting.
But is that
after I
in
meet with
here?
Bill.
Is that in the action plan?
Not that specific language, no, that was more just board direction at the last meeting.
But should it be? in the action plan?
Well, maybe next year's, at this
For
point.
2025.
Oh, right, okay, I get it.
Where are you?
We haven't done 2025s yet.
No,
No, this is just 2024s.
yeah, and I did chat, I've been, this annual, the policy that's about the, what we do at each meeting. I've been updating, I follow it as in planning agendas each meeting. And, I've actually added the accessibility ARPA priorities into the January agenda, which is why when we have a new chair, I'm happy to meet with the new chair and Jen and me to sort of transition. So, how I'm doing the planning and can carry on, with some context.
Speaking of that, or well, once we're done with this, but I'm just wondering, should we move to that sooner rather than, I'm just wondering, Chris said she could only stay on an hour.
Move to what?
Yeah, I'll be
the-
leaving in a minute.
Yeah, do we need
Move to what?
quorum? Will we lose quorum with Chris? No, okay.
But what did you think you wanted to move to earlier?
Oh, the discussion about the chair.
Oh,
That's at the end, yeah.
yeah, it's at the end.
But Chris is leaving, so it's all right. We could just wait.
Well,
Chris is leaving
sort
now.
of- we sort of already just agreed, I think.
Yeah, she agreed at the end of last meeting.
We have a perspective from her.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, she was okay with what
Okay.
was going to be
okay,
proposed.
okay.
Okay,
Just wasn't
I
sure.
know they're very small question, sorry.
Great.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
I have like about 3 or 4 things on the action plan. I think we want
okay, well, Joanne, why don't you go first?
Yes,
and then
my
Karen.
question was just, you have, under the following are anticipated to be completed, and you have the multi-use recreation feasibility. I don't know if it's going to be completed, I would just, if it doesn't happen in December, I don't know if it matters, but I feel like we should move it into 2025 because
Oh, yeah.
December was
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
report.
Yeah.
We'll set them up for wrap up.
So we're gonna get a report in December, but we're not gonna get
It's not the end.
conclusions, it's not.
Yeah.
The committee will probably
I
still
feel
be
like
meeting.
that, yeah, so I would just flip it to
I've already done that.
an ongoing into the carry forward to 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and Carol, you had some,
Okay, so on, CH2 2.1, we had, present a report to council and other key partners and decide in progress. I thought maybe we should recognize that we had the October 21st meeting there.
Can you repeat which
It's,
item?
CH2 2.1.
Okay,
And then it's present a report to council.
Yep.
And then it has board, and then it said complete, incomplete, it just says in progress. So I thought we should recognize the October 21st meeting.
which was that the Volt meeting?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if we would say it's complete. Would we say that's complete then, or?
I have that as the Volt presentation under another.
Yeah, it appears elsewhere.
It does appear elsewhere.
So this was about, this particular report under 2.1 was about the thing above it, the current space utilization, articulate facility replacement and upgrade requirements, and identify options for expansion,
Which is coming.
which is all for the.
Which is coming, okay, okay.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the expansion, not the vote. Okay. And then I had a question on ES 1.2, the library of things, it says measure says in progress, and then it doesn't say anything. I just wondered if we were on track for meeting the 10%. So that's ES 1.2.
I spoke to Elisa, she's off. I spoke to her before she left, and she made a comment about how, yes, we've added new things, but we've also removed items from the collection too, whether or not it's something broke or various reasons. So when we're reporting on usage, that might actually affect, like if we're comparing it to last year's.
Yeah.
Which is something I didn't really think about when we were establishing the measures at the beginning of the year.
So maybe we need to revisit that measure for next year.
Yeah. I'll have to wait and see when she comes back, but I'll have, at the January meeting, I'll have a little more clarity on that one.
Okay, and then ES 2.2. This is here, that just says another one in progress.
Yeah, I just figured I'd wait until, January to reflect on the whole year in terms of how many resources were added. And I would say we would probably be on track for increased usage for digital resources too. I don't know if anyone here has tried to put on something or check something out on Libby lately, but I'm on hold for like $15.
Me too.
I was almost going to be number 551 on the list for an audiobook, so I decided I would book the large print one instead, and I'm bored.
Why is it Libby so backed up?
Well, it's so because it's the model we purchased through the consortium, so it's shared with other libraries. But we will purchase specific titles to get an advanced copy if the wait list of our users is big. So, but it's a matter of, Elisa can't monitor every single title.
Yeah.
So like she will respond, obviously if a patron says or asks a question or raises it to her attention. And I'll obviously talk to her too, because I'm also now on hold for a lot of items.
How do you decide? Because a couple times I've noticed, you've got it, there's ebook access, but no,
Physical.
like, is it just my imagination that we seem to be
No, that can
substituting?
There's a couple of different things. When you're searching, this is actually a flaw in our catalog. So sometimes, sometimes you should actually change. I'll go over this afterward with you. It could be how you're searching for something. The odd time it'll only pull up our e-resources, even if we have a physical copy. We've only noticed it with a couple of titles. It's not with every title. But the other thing could be too, the consortium, they purchase for us. So it could be that they purchased a digital copy and we didn't feel the need to purchase the physical copy. Doesn't mean that you can't suggest we purchase the physical copy. There's a lot of other factors too, like how old is the book? There's various things, but that's a couple of different reasons why.
And Jack, can you clarify the consortium? Is it a local or a provincial?
Provincial.
Is that, I'm gonna talk about that. There's budget priorities funding in Ontario Digital Public Library.
Yes.
Does it already exist?
No.
Ah,
Not in that sense, but we can talk about that.
We'll get to that.
Okay, so I got one more, OE to 2.2. So I'm applying the Value Ontario of the Volt and integrate results into council and public presentations. So that's where I thought we should say that we had the October 21st meeting to council as well. Because they're just having progress, so we should recognize that we did the October 21st meeting.
But we'll still imply that we'll have further presentations?
Yeah, but that's just to recognize that we've done more than just, like, to me, in progress means we really haven't done anything, and maybe that's just my interpretation of in progress.
Yeah.
But Jen did a great presentation to council, so we should recognize it there.
With help.
And then that was all I had.
Okay, so for the January, we'll see a sort of final 2024 action plan summary with the accomplishments, and we'll see what's carrying over to 2025. That can give us the basis for doing a planning discussion on the action plan for 2025 in more detail. Okay, next item is the verbal report on MRFA, and that's over to you, Jen.
So we do have a tentative date for the report that's coming back to council in December. I just got it today. I believe it's Thursday, December 12th. Again, it's a tentative date, so once it's 100% confirmed, I think at this point Clerks is just waiting on Collingwood to confirm the time.
I'll send out a calendar invitation to the board. We also postponed our bi-weekly meetings, so we were supposed to have one this week. It's getting pushed to next week, so I don't have any real concrete updates other than that sort of tentative council date in December. And then when I meet with the group next week, we'll be kind of reviewing the report before it goes to council. So I would just say the project is still on time.
Any more perspectives on Collingwood's?
Like the steering
perspective?
committee?
Yeah, and the boundary line and.
We did have a conversation about it after the presentation that you all attended. And I know the recommendation from the consultants to Collingwood will be not to move forward with a steering committee, whether or not their council
Needs the advice or not.
takes the advice is kind of up in the air, but
It's gonna delay it even.
yeah, so that's definitely not the direction that we will be recommending that the town of the Blue Mountains takes. So that's sort of to be determined.
Okay, any other questions on MRFA? Wait,
Many questions, but not.
but nothing.
Actually, the one thing, and it's really just something in your meeting. So when they made that last presentation, and I meant to go back and listen to it again, but my understanding, the MRFA is to understand the feasibility, not whether or not we should do a shared one, but for each community, the feasibility and need for a multi-use facility. The introduction that was given at the last presentation, there was verbiage that was literally talking about a joint facility and where it would be in the boundary lines. And I just feel like there's a very big distinction between, so it feels like, because you jump to that, and that's what people glom onto from decision making. So I don't know if it's just a conversation in the meeting, just to say, can we be really clear at this stage? This is about each community's need and opportunity for a multi-use facility. And then, because the next stage would be, hey, we both need the same thing.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it together? But that's not like, that's,
Well, yeah, that's not the way it came across.
that didn't, that I was like,
That
I think I
that
just-
comes up at every single meeting we have.
Yeah.
And I know actually, one thing I think I can share is that they will be presenting more than one option.
Yeah.
If that doesn't really
No, I just feel
clarify how
for
they
the sake of
communicate things,
everybody
but-
doing, like, seriously, the team doing this work
Mhm.
is that it's like you're leading the audience. If they were my consultants, I would say stop right now, because that's not what we're doing, and you jump to a conclusion or a potential conclusion without
I
stating the
didn't necessarily
information
think
first.
that.
So that's, I just, again, it's just more like, because when anytime it comes up in conversations with people that I know, well, I don't know if I want to share something with Collingwood, or maybe that's a good idea or whatever, but I'm kind of like, but we're not there yet. So
I think
I feel like it muddies the decision about what you need when you jump to the possibility that it's going to be shared with Collingwood. That's all.
But it's kind of chicken and egg, right? You can't get people to talk about what they need unless they understand what's possible or what sort of the,
End of the line picture is,
or could be.
yeah, could be, yeah.
Yeah.
It did come out in the survey, though, that for those that actually participated or in some of those engagement sessions, that a shared facility is preferred. But the next report that comes back in December, that's when they're going to have to take all of the other things into consideration, where the presentation that you all attended, it was just, this is what we heard from the community. But then, whether or not that actually is feasible.
Right.
Hopefully that's going to come out in that report in December. I'm really looking forward to reading it, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Yeah. Cool.
So let's move on to, the next item is the board evaluation report.
So thank you. I think everybody completed it, so that's great. Not quite sure the best way to go through this, so I thought we could just go through the responses, and then if you want to raise something for discussion on each page, if you can bring it up, then that would, something jumps out at us on a page, let's talk about that for a minute. That means something to us. Go to, if you don't mind, just go right to I find those bar charts hard to read.
I do too.
So yeah, those percentages are easy to understand. So, so what I tend to do in these things is see if there's anything in the poor or not so good column. Those seem to be points for discussion, and nothing that showed up in poor on any of the responses. Here we've got 20% not so good.
One person, yeah.
Right, one person. So was ensuring effective risk management. So there's a concern about risk management for somebody, and exercising effective control over financial affairs. So if I could, don't tell me to shut up if you'd rather I don't do anything.
No, you're fine. You're doing great.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that people realize we do have a risk management report that comes to the board every January. And since you guys are probably all new in January, that might have just floated along with a whole bunch of other things that happened. Well, you were, yeah, you weren't even here.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, so you wouldn't even know that there's a risk management report. And that was something where we tried to bring in, actually, I asked Sabrina to start doing it, and she did the last one because you weren't here, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was all about what do you see in terms of financial risk or liability risk or, any of those things. So, and I found that really helpful. We only just started it, I think that last year was our second one. So I just provide that for context. And I would say in terms of our financial stuff, we've been spending a lot of time for about 2 years now trying to separate the way the town deals with their budgets and their finances with things that are meaningful in our language, in our world. And I think we're still doing that, but I think we're nearing the point where we might actually really be able to look at our financial reports and go, I now know what that means, rather than go, what is that about?
So with back to the risk management, is there another report going to come out January 2020?
Yeah, it's scheduled.
Okay.
Well, right now it's scheduled in February, but I've scheduled it in February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it'll be somebody else's decision. But that's sort of where I've laid it out for now. And mostly because you need to have all of your information in from the end of the year in order to write the report, and January might be too soon.
If I could make a quick comment just on finances too, because I don't know how familiar everyone is with this. Obviously, I was new this year. We had a lot of turnover in the town's finance department as well. But the one thing I'll say is that a library's budget is for the most part very different everywhere you go. So it's not like if you have a CEO coming from Grey Highlands to the town of the Blue Mountains, the budget process is a really simple thing to learn, because like the process is different, the accounts are different. So it does take, it's a bit of a learning curve, even if you do have a bit of a background in managing library finances. So just something to keep in mind. But as I start to understand the budget a lot more, obviously I'll be communicating things back to the board, or if there's questions I can't answer, I'll be looking into them. But yeah, the finances are always an interesting thing. I always get a little bit intimidated by the budget because there isn't this sort of, list of, if you know these things,
It's not cut and dry and very.
It's not. And municipal finances are complex.
Nice word for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Most doesn't make any sense in the real world.
Yeah. I think I've been mentioned in conversations with some of you, it's sometimes too, it's not even a matter of going to the CRA's website. Obviously I can navigate resources that are available to everyone, but that doesn't teach you what you need to know, if that makes sense. So, it's sort of a work in progress for me too.
And just for clarity, so just thinking about what you're saying, so this question, this is about the board exercising effective control over financial affairs. So it's also, because it's kind of like one step removed. Right? So, okay.
Anything else you want to say about this? Anything we need to do differently?
Did we talk about doing a budgeting course or something?
I had that in my evaluation as not something for a goal for next year, but there is a municipal accounting course I've been looking at for a couple of years. But I think a lot of it too is having a good relationship with the treasurer and deputy treasurer goes a long way.
Were we gonna do anything at a board level? Was that discussed, a very high level, here's what the,
How to understand the budget?
yeah,
Financial literacy.
yeah, that's a good word for it.
I think it's even in this.
Municipal financial literacy.
Yes.
I think that's, yeah, one of my stumbling blocks.
I think it might be pie in the sky.
After that development fees webinar, it may never be the same, so I don't know.
Some of it's creative. It's, yeah,
It was,
like.
Well, I guess I'll ask it in a different way. Do we feel we need to do anything to address the one sort of not so good? Or are we comfortable enough with Jen reporting stuff on a regular basis around the budget? Like how much does the board need to understand this to function as a board?
There's not much latitude in our budget
Yeah.
for, 90% of our budget income is salary, and
Yeah.
so I think at one point, a couple of years ago, I said, we have about a discretion of about $160,000. And $1 million budget, because most of it's
Yeah.
service
Yeah.
staff people. So I'm not sure that there's a big question here.
No, I mean, I would be comfortable saying we really don't need to do anything with the 20% not so good and be comfortable with what we're currently doing around reporting of the budget.
And know that at any meeting that, the quarterly reports come forward or the audit, ask whatever questions you want to ask. That's your opportunity to say, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I think
we
you've been
do.
doing that.
We do
You
that.
do
Yeah, we
that.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This board also has a lot more control over their finances than some other public libraries. And yeah, our MOU and our funding agreement are very unique.
Mhm.
It is an interesting question about, just thinking, what comes to mind is the charitable status. And I mentioned that, so whole new thing. And
Yeah.
if you haven't run a charity before, there are lots of ins and outs, and so as a board, so I'm more thinking down the road, or if we get into a situation where we are raising money for an expansion. So maybe at that time we evaluate whether or not we need to have a really like a sit down, with the town finance teams, like help us really understand deficit financing or whatever it might be, just those kind of, some of the principles. That's why I was saying municipal requirements different. So maybe it's just down the road, depending on what happens. That we want to make sure that.
I have, I've never gone through the process of getting charitable status, but I have worked at libraries that did already have it. So, it might even be a bit of a learning curve for me, but I know from a sort of administrative point of view, all you really have to do is there's a sort of a separate report that I would have to submit to the government in June, reporting on donations and that sort of thing.
That's somebody at my front door. You live too close to the library.
Yeah, sorry, it was more just a general comment.
Yeah,
It just
that's
sort
okay.
of triggered thinking about.
I just wanted to make sure, like, a lot of the administrative stuff wouldn't even come to the board.
Yeah.
But there could be other things I'm not thinking of once we get that status.
But your input asking questions, because I asked previous finance staff, I said, how did you fund this? Oh, unfinanced debt. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a thing.
Finance debt.
Unfinanced debt.
Unfinanced debt.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and what is that? Maybe I should have come up with a
Isn't
better
every
name
debt
for that.
unfinanced? Because that's why it's a debt.
It's, yeah,
It's an
that hurts my head.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't like the municipal budget.
So maybe then in an action item for that one is just to keep
our eyes in the future and the impact of charitable status with budgeting, reporting or something like that.
Okay, next one, please. There's 9 questions, I think, right? Something like that. Okay, so this one, oh, shoot, who's the quit? Let's see, stop at the question, so we can go to, please rate your level of agreement or disagreement with each of the statements. Oh, great. That wasn't the topic. Okay. So,
Oh, I see what you mean. It's in my report, but it's not actually how
yeah, it's not how
the,
it's okay. I think we can
okay.
guess. So again, nobody disagrees, strongly disagrees. There's a couple of slightly disagree, I guess that's a second from the.
Somewhat.
Somewhat, yes, okay, so decisions are made based on accurate and timely information, it's a somewhat. And the other one is there's sufficient appropriate professional development opportunities for board members. Oh, and this third, has adequate information to monitor organizational performance.
I think, and I don't even remember what I answered, but I don't think I was a somewhat disagree, I don't know, but, I may have been somewhat agree, with the decisions made based on accurate and timely info and then adequate information down below, because, you know, we come back to it all the time, right? Like, even the way we define things, you know, like, I think we will get better at having sort of a few key standard metrics that we all know how they're calculated, and, it's been a big learning curve for us too, I think. So I do think it should be a focus, is really getting those core metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we gonna stick with doors, the counter, and
Right.
and what are the periods of time, or, are we sticking with the periods of time that the ministry data reports are we gonna look at it, not at all, or is it really important to us? I don't know, but I think there's a bit of work to do there. I don't think it's, somebody speak up. I don't think it's like really bad. I mean, it's just, I think we could be a bit better.
I would agree. It's more opportunity for development. It's a real issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's one about the professional development opportunities. So there's actually, I think, as many opportunities as you want to ask for. So I'm not really, that one puzzles me a little bit. So maybe someone doesn't understand that the opportunities that are there that they haven't pursued.
Yeah, I've got some to share. The presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what the board budget line is for too.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about the super conference, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Agenda. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this one? Okay, next, please.
Yeah, I wish this one might be governance.
Yeah.
Culture,
Nothing
maybe.
strongly disagree, nothing in somewhat disagree. Okay, so this one looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah. Only one under not so good. Ability to provide financial oversight. So I think this is the one about, how you feel about your own understanding of the board and contribution. So I think,
What page is this? Sorry.
It's page 50 in are you in the big board
No,
package?
just the PDF.
The PDF 16.
Oh, well, did we,
Or it says 16 on the bottom.
but we missed 12.
did we?
Yeah,
Okay.
page 12, because there was some stuff about conflict that I thought we should talk about.
Nothing there. Consecutive.
There.
Oh. So,
Oh, I guess you're saying they're just somewhat agree, but to me, that's kind of like. I didn't think we had any conflict. Now, maybe I'm being naive, but, you know, constructive dissent is encouraged only somewhat, and conflict is acknowledged only somewhat. Like, I would like some more information on that, or where the opportunity is. Or is it just some people don't like to always say strongly agree to everything too? Yeah, yeah, so that could be it.
Like as a teacher, you don't want to always give them the highest marks. all the
Yeah,
time.
okay. Alright. So there's nobody feels there's any need to talk about anything here? Okay.
Which displays how there isn't any dissent in the room.
Perfect as anybody.
back to, we've already done this one.
Okay.
Okay, that's the
Yeah, that's the one, because I had the financial.
Okay.
There's something in the somewhat disagree or strongly disagree, but it's interesting. I think there's more of a split between the strongly agree and somewhat agree line than there has been on other ones. So it's
Yeah.
all about, I guess, your own perception of your own contribution.
And this is hard because you're evaluating yourself here,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, and you tend to be more harsh on yourself
Yeah.
than the group.
yeah,
And maybe people feel like it's a work in progress. Like, a good job representing our organization to the members and community. We're kind of starting to do that.
Yeah.
But we haven't had too many opportunities to do it yet.
I think that's a good point. You know, that we only just did the key influencers or whatever we're calling it now. Like earlier, like a week ago.
yeah.
So, yeah, but we understand those are things we have to work on. And we're just really starting to grapple with them.
Yeah.
Nothing else? This one? That was the single greatest strength. No one answered that one, I guess. It's okay.
Okay.
How do we answer
I wonder
it?
if they didn't, like,
I don't think.
it doesn't include the written ones, just
Which I
the.
would think for
No, I think
publicly is probably not a.
this was also misleading. It shows, it looks like you have a poor rating, but if you actually go down, it's 100% very good. So I think that was just,
The way you
Yes, sir.
structured the question, yeah.
but that should actually probably reflect 4 stars.
Yeah.
Interpretation of the data.
Now, but this was the CMHA that was adapted, right?
Yeah,
So
but
is there a glitch in their system, or can we fix it next year?
it's SurveyMonkey. So like
Oh.
I put it into SurveyMonkey. I mean, I can play around sort of in the back end
For next year?
for next year.
Yeah.
I think you just have to reverse, put the very good on the right and the poor on the left, and it would.
Yeah, because in this case, you don't want a 4-star rating, you want the 1-star rating, which is the opposite of what the star ratings are supposed to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll have to look in the back end. I don't even think I have the ability to. Anyway, I'll investigate.
I mean, I think this is really positive. I mean, I've been on a lot of hospital boards, and I tell you, there's so many dynamics and schemes and power struggles.
Individual will be listed, the individual responses.
Oh,
I think this is a very good board. I've been really happy with the way people get along, and even though we're all different, we have shared values, you know, so.
I mean, there's probably, I've been working with SurveyMonkey for the tennis club, and you have to tick a certain box when you want to share this. That includes open questions. And if they didn't tick open questions, you not get the individual ones where it says, what do you think was your single greatest strength
Yeah.
or something? So that's why some of those pages are blank. And I never include the one where it gives you everybody's individual response. So that's our individual responses without our names on them. Right? So it doesn't really add anything, right, to it. So I wouldn't normally share that stuff just for next time around.
This one, you mean?
Yeah, the individual responses, don't tick that box, but tick the open question box for next year.
I'm completely gapping on what you just said. What open question?
Some of those questions don't have tick this box, tick that box. It says, what do you think?
Yeah,
That's an open question.
okay,
And there was 2 pages there that were all blank. It's because in sharing the file with us, the open question, share open questions box wasn't ticked.
oh,
So it didn't come through to us. And the
Oh.
individual responses box was ticked, which is that other 50 pages
Yeah.
of responses that got attached
Oh,
that we
okay.
don't really need.
okay. So maybe we need more lesson before we do it next year.
Oh, it's not us. It's, yeah,
Oh,
it's,
oh, okay.
The information there, it just could be presented better
yeah. It's,
using the reporting tool. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I like this instrument a lot better than what we've used in the past. I thought it was helpful
That's really good.
and gives us some, yeah.
Yeah, it was a quick survey. It didn't take long to do.
Mhm.
Once I was able to choose more than one. Which has been fixed immediately.
It's put.
Oh, you went first?
I went first, and
I was last.
And it would only let you choose, like, so you could choose very good, only once for the whole survey.
Oh,
And then you could only choose one of those once for the whole survey. But Tim fixed it right away. so.
Okay, it's unusual. Okay, so now we're into the policy review. And, so I guess the first one is the cost recovery services.
You want me to speak to it?
Sure.
First. So this policy came up actually at ACC meeting when the ACC recommended to me that we remove the commission fee for showcases unless it's an extension of an art show. We still charge to rent the showcases. The recommendation is just to remove the 25% commission fee.
like
on
for
sales.
BDO?
We actually don't charge commission for not-for-profits. That's in the policy.
Oh, okay.
But this is just the recommendation from the ACC was just to remove it entirely. And it also, in talking to Franz, who does a lot of the administrative work for the showcases as well, it's just sort of one of those administrative things that overcomplicates renting the showcases. It isn't a significant revenue source. Joanne did ask, I'll just say it on the public record, she did follow up and ask, well, you know, like how much revenue do we really make from commission on showcases? It's a little hard to say what we would make on the commission. A lot of the time we actually end up renting them out to not-for-profits anyway. So it won't necessarily affect our revenue for renting the showcases, but in our budget over the last, say, 10 years, and I'm happy to pull, like I've got.
Can you just, what do you mean by showcases?
So showcases are in this sort of main area here.
Okay.
Those
Okay.
cases.
So
that
it has nothing to do with the gallery sales or anything?
No, and it won't affect gallery sales in the sense that if, like, sometimes when we do our art shows, the artists will also have a showcase if they have smaller pieces and we couldn't incorporate it into the hanging. So in that case, yes, if it's an extension of an art show, we would still charge commission because it's consistent with all the other artwork we sell as part of the show. It would just be if an individual or a local business is renting the showcases, they would just pay the rental fee. They wouldn't actually have to pay commission on any sales. So it's kind of removing a bit of a barrier too for smaller businesses or individuals because you're already paying, I think it's a $45 rental fee. And then plus you would have to pay 25% commission on any sale you make in the showcase. So I guess the recommendation to remove it is, it's a little bit of an administrative.
Yeah, it's not worth the
It doesn't
money.
really make sense.
Yeah, it's not worth.
It's not a huge revenue source. And if anything, it probably may even attract more individuals and smaller businesses to want to rent the showcases, where now, of course, they're full with not-for-profit stuff because we don't charge them.
But what would be there that wasn't part of the art exhibit?
Anybody can rent them.
Oh, so I could put my chili sauce in? for example?
Sure, yeah, if it's available. We ran into, I think Franz had mentioned that in previous years, sometimes it was actually hard to fill the showcases.
Okay,
Where we've been lucky the past probably, I think, 2 years. Like they're booked, fully booked.
so these are like artists, but maybe not the artists that have the shows in the gallery.
It could be, or it could be more informational stuff. We also have our own, so there's a couple of the showcases that are always the library or the museums. But for the most part,
You're
it's,
kind enough to let the Legion use it for.
yes, for Remembrance Day
Yeah,
stuff,
for
yeah.
remembrance, just to get that out there.
We're pretty lenient with the policy, but it's just, it's in there. And they asked, I mean, I definitely supported their recommendation and I said I would bring it to the board. But then when we were taking a closer look at the policy too, and I ran it past our management team, there were a couple of other things. So the scanning was one. In our policy, we would charge to scan to a USB or email, where we thought that there's really no point in charging because you're not using any resources. Staff are already paid to provide that service when they're working the circulation desk. That would not include, though, museum scans. So if someone's asking for a scan of, a high resolution scan of a photo that is hours in the archives, the staff have to go down, they have to find it. We would still charge for the museum side of things, but as just a core library service.
But if they're gonna want a printout of it, then there would be a charge.
Then it would just be the printing fee.
Yeah.
From a budget perspective too, revenues in our budget, printing, scanning and faxing are all kind of amalgamated when we process it. But I can just comment anecdotally to say a majority of the revenue that we do get in that section is from printing. We don't do a ton of faxing, but we are one of the only places that actually provide that service should someone need to send something to the government. And there is a recommendation in this report to remove the additional cost for a long distance fax, because that doesn't actually cost us anything
anymore, right?
We pay a very small fee for like a software we use through the town, Yovu, to do scanning, but yeah, it's just a matter of looking at the policy and trying to remove costs that are more barriers to the service and wouldn't really affect our budget too much.
Can I have a question on the, if you go further up, it says, online fees are not accepted
Yes,
this time.
it should say online payments.
Okay, but why are online payments not accepted?
We just don't have the capability to do that right now.
What's like, can't you just do it through like an email?
Like an e-transfer,
Yeah,
most of what we do, we kind of follow the town's recommendation for things, and I think it's just,
I find it very frustrating that the town doesn't do e-transfer.
It's a whole other layer of administration though.
It's just because
Yeah.
to have to
No, but like,
go and pay for a permit and go down and pay
I get
in
it.
person,
Yeah.
it's just like,
I get
I
it.
thought ridiculous in today's day and age.
yeah. I wonder too how the postal strike will kind of push
If you want, if you want.
a few things. Well, we're experiencing that now, where we have to do, like, there's some vendors, we even pay for like books that only take check. And they'll say they don't take any other method of payment, but now they're accepting other methods.
So I would not use the argument that the town doesn't do it, because I think the town's a little bit backwards on that. And I would suggest that the library try and look into the ability of doing online payments.
The difficulty with that is to connect the payment to what it's for.
To the bank account.
Yeah,
No, that's easy, because you could, I think it is, you can just attach an email address and do an automatic deposit or something. But you'd have to have a separate stream by which someone says, I'm paying you for this purpose.
Yeah.
And then someone has to marry that information to the actual transfer.
that's what I mean
And
by
that's
another
why it
level of
gets-
administration.
Okay, so it's
That's why we, the town, don't do that.
so it's administratively burdensome.
Yeah,
They're taught, Ryan Gibbons says they're trying to get something like that set up so people can book pickleball courts online.
that's with the software that we've got, that we're implementing. And that way you can pay with your credit card, but not that I'm aware of, that it's e-transfer.
Okay,
It's still there's a method of payment, should you wanna rent a hall or whatever, is included in that booking software.
oh,
But
so then,
that's,
then you know what it's for.
you know exactly
Yeah.
what it's for, but that's to relieve the administrative burden that's on that staff area of staff too, because currently right now, any facility, any rental, any tennis court, anything, pickleball court, whatever, it's all inputted by hand by Marguerite.
Okay, so let me ask the question in
Yeah.
another way. Have we ever had any complaints that you can't do payments online?
If so, not many. I've never heard, nothing's been brought to my attention about that being a barrier. If anything, the fact that we even accept credit card and debit payments is quite progressive for a rural
Oh,
library.
is it? Okay.
Grey Highlands is cash only.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, so maybe, so we are leading the charge.
At the bump
Well,
there.
when I got here, I was like,
All
oh,
that
wow, we have
cash
a
flowing.
square? That's great.
Okay.
So if someone's booking a room or booking one of these, they have to come in and pay at the desk?
Yeah.
I mean, but that is online. It is a square. You've got a square.
Yeah. We can do,
But you have to come in person. That's the,
yeah, it's not integrated into our website.
Yeah.
I think we have looked into e-commerce in the past. I haven't since I've been here. But anyway, yeah,
but I guess if it's not a problem and,
I don't think it is here at least.
okay,
And the policy does say at this time.
I know, it does say,
Yeah.
it does say,
So the door is.
at this time, yes, it does.
Yeah, Joanne?
Sorry, yeah, I just have, I just discussion around these fees and this policy, whether, the smaller fees, we're not making much money, or we shouldn't be charging to, enable greater access. I'm gonna go back to my private world.
Okay,
So we have overhead, right? So we have equipment, we buy equipment, we're gonna buy the library's use anyway. However, the more use it gets, the more maintenance you have to pay. Or how you have to replace it sooner, et cetera, et cetera. So and I know it falls under accounting and accruals and all that kind of stuff. However, there is a point at which there is potentially a point at which it's being used more by the public than it is by us. And we're not getting any revenue. So I'm talking about obviously the scanning, printing aside, but just scanning. So it's more a question around, are we okay to put the entire bill ongoing, should, and, fewer and fewer people are going to Staples. I don't know if more and more people come here. Don't know if it's an either, or it's a we charge or we don't charge, or is it a nominal amount such that to acknowledge there is value in what they're getting? Because that's everything. Sometimes when things are free, they're just assumed, oh, I have the right to do this. I would like you to copy. And I did not mean, like, for example, I didn't need to print out the entire thing. I just, my mistake, but just anyway. So it's more a question around how we think about what is a cost and where revenue comes from. I don't know what the answer is. And also that sometimes when you do sliding scales, you do a pay what you can. Again, because yes, we are publicly funded. However, we also have to pay for things. And so sometimes it's not a bad policy to say, hey, it's a minimum of 5 cents. Sounds like a small amount, no big deal, or it's a pay what you can. And some people will say, hey, that was worth $1 to me. I'm putting this forward as things to think about, and it may not be,
Yeah.
you know, right now, I don't, whatever we decide, it's just more a way to think about fees and what people pay. That's on the scanning side. As it relates to the renting of these, again, there is possibility for someone to take advantage, and they end up being, yeah, $45, that's great, I'm gonna put my $3 million painting in there, and I wanna sell it, because I'm gonna start using this as.
We
you know,
do vet, we do vet.
So all I want to say in the policy is just to make sure that, you know, at the CEO's discretion.
Right.
Somewhere I think is in there, just, again, there's small things, it was just a different perspective on.
Yeah.
So that is a good
on how to think
perspective.
about it.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer, they're more questions.
I think this might be relevant, but when we, for instance, and this is public libraries across Ontario, removing, say, late fees, obviously that's removing a barrier to library service. That's really the number one way that we framed that to library boards. But what's interesting is a lot more people are more inclined to want to pay their late fees or donate to the library. So it's the same with book sales. So like a lot of the time, like some libraries will have set prices for certain formats on their book sale. And then the second you just remove all of that administrative stuff and it's pay by donation, you make more on your book sale. Or entry fee to a program. All right, $25 a ticket to see Ted Barris. If you put a donation bin and the event's free, you walk out of that program. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes people are a little more generous when,
And maybe that's the approach, maybe it is,
Yeah.
you know, request for donation. Again, because it does two things, one, we might get more money, but the
Yeah.
other is, again, just it helps remind people that we're, you know, we don't have all the money in the world. That we are providing is free, but we do need support, so, yeah, that's an interesting point, it's about a donation option.
I have a couple of edits I'd like to suggest to this policy. One is the one that under general, the last sentence there, it starts with borrowing privileges for physical materials. I'd like to delete that whole section because it's a duplicate of what already exists in the CERC and returns policy. And I think it's a bad idea to have same wording in two different policies, because then if you change one and forget the other, then you've got a problem. So I would just remove that.
Remove what, number 6?
Number 6.
All of number 6?
All of number 6.
Okay,
Because it's somewhere else.
yeah.
Yeah. I also, and this is sort of a personal preference, but number 2 says, your fees schedule shall be determined by the CEO. That was always just a period there. And adding an explanation on what she can choose to do, I think doesn't really add anything helpful to that policy. The fact is the fee schedule should be determined by the CEO, period. So I would remove the rest of the explanation.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
The other one I had, and I don't know whether you think, would you like this one, but number 5, fees are reviewed on an annual basis as part of the budget process. And I thought that was fine, stopping there. Because as a policy, we would see it from time to time and, you know, and be able to approve it then. And if we see it as part of the budget process anyway,
We have to approve it.
yeah, we you know, so why add the
It's
extra,
redundant.
Yeah.
submit to the library, for approval, yeah. I think the way the agenda writes is that we would be doing a single motion for the first 3 policies. So let's continue with that assumption. And anything else under cost recovery then? The next one is the vacation with pay policy. And I know there was a couple of corrections that came out in a subsequent email. The only other one I would note, Jenny, we talked about the other day, and we both missed it yesterday, was under 3.2 vacation entitlement calculation. Number 4. And that's where, okay, okay, so that's where that, we need to say town, get rid of the town.
Right.
Like that's, it should be library there. No, I see, yep, you're right there.
Thank you.
This was, I don't know if anyone noticed that, but it sort of looked like if someone came from the town and they had, seniority from the town, it automatically got credited to the library. And that wasn't what she meant to say. It meant if you had previous seniority with the library, it gets credited with the library.
You might have had some town employees jump up for joy.
Hold on. Hang on, let the town deal with their own seniority. Don't hand it over to us.
I'm happy to speak a little more to this one if you want me to.
Let's do it to this question. I'm just keeping an eye on the time and I know
Yeah.
Tom has to leave at 3:30.
Okay.
So, do people have any questions or concerns? I know it was kind of lengthy and hard to read, but,
I covered my questions.
yeah, and we ended up discussing some stuff, even during the closed session too. So is there any other questions or comments around this?
No, we discussed the thing in the closed session, so I'm fine.
Okay,
Oh, I have one question for the board. There was something about the CEO in here. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to know if I'm removing that. Something to do with
I didn't- yeah,
vacation.
I don't think the CEO's vacation should necessarily be specified at what you start at.
I'm okay deleting that because I think it's part of a negotiation when
Yeah.
a new CEO
Yeah,
starts.
exactly.
So that would be, after all the long charts of, full year, 7 weeks, all that kind of stuff. It's number 5,
Thank you.
first sentence there, yeah.
I'll just have to be, I'll have to communicate that to payroll, but I'll put it in an email.
Okay, so that's all for that. And then the last one is the rights and responsibilities of the MPR users.
Oh, I should have some message. Oops.
I had a quick,
Yeah.
I guess an idea lens correction.
Okay,
I'm just taking a look at it. And just gonna let you know. Okay. Scroll. Okay, here we are.
I had just on, the responsibilities of borrowers, 1.1. I think we should change the his or her care to their care.
Yes. Thank you. I am definitely going to control
I
F.
never, I wasn't sure if they are the individuals. Grammar.
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead and jump in here.
Sorry, and I have a question. I just, my note says mention law enforcement question mark. I think it's mentioned
Surveillance.
that staff contact law enforcement. Can I see that? Sorry.
I think it is in here somewhere.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, under serious or dangerous behaviors, they're expected and authorized to be called the police. Yeah, I just wanted to somewhere in the policy that that's.
I only had one other thing. I think it's the very top. I think this is the policy refers to the very top. Okay, all BMPL users, visitors, employees have a right to secure an amiable environment, and I would add, and volunteers. The other discussion we had is changing employees to personnel, but I think adding volunteers solves it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the word refusing needs to change to refuse. Just below, couple lines below where you were. Go back up. Oh, those who choose to disrespect the policies of, yeah. And they choose to modify the.
Okay.
Okay, may I have, if we're done
I
with
have
these?
one,
Okay, go ahead.
sorry, just a
Yep,
real
yep.
question about the fees. Do we need to mention whether it includes HST or HS plus HST? They just have the
In the
amount
appendix, you mean?
anywhere that we're saying what the fees are?
I think with the HST stuff gets so complicated, but with some of our fees, it's just included. So like room rentals. Just
And maybe just to cover, it, maybe say, necessary taxes,
will apply.
will apply.
May
And,
apply.
yeah, again, to cover. That's it.
I think for the most part, most of the HST is on art sales, but I'm gonna let.
Okay, if that's it, I'd like a mover and seconder that the board approve the policy cost recovery services, vacation with pay, rights and responsibility for employee users as amended. Joanne and Marie? Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much, it's carried. Video surveillance policy.
The one comment I will make is that, when the security cameras were being installed, I did have a conversation with IT in the moment about this particular policy, and they want to update this regardless. The interesting thing about this policy, though, is that the library CEO was included in the policy when it was written back in 2021. So it actually encompasses the library, even though we didn't even have security cameras at the time.
That was forward thinking.
Yes. And I had drafted our own policy and then had a conversation with IT, and at least sort of the recommendation from the IT manager was, hey, why don't we just work together on updating this? Right now, at least the library is included. And I mean, for other policies, it would be nice to have that same relationship if it's, if the town's doing our payroll, if when the policy is created, if the library is included in it, then we may not always have to go through the process of creating our own.
So why is
We would
this
just
here
have to
then?
adopt it. Sorry.
It's just a matter of motion at this point. So,
Yeah.
so the motion would be that this board adopt the town of the Blue Mountains video surveillance policy. I won't bother with the number, and that this board instruct the library CEO to collaborate with the manager of IT to update the policy incorporating specifics relevant to the library. Can I have a mover and seconder?
Me?
Julia and Carol, seconding. Any other discussion?
Just really quickly, so that Jen knows, is that inadvertently I notified the OPP that you've got cameras now.
Okay.
So, they were pleased to hear that. And that if say so you might get contacted if say there's ever something nefarious that happens, whether, like somebody flattens somebody's tire and runs by here, and they know that now that they know there's cameras here, they might contact just to check.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people in the dark aren't thinking about, well, they shouldn't be out, they shouldn't be doing that anyways, but it's a nicety that's now been added to the OPP's
Oh, okay.
like watchful eyes kind of program or something like that. So it was a big thumbs up from the OPP. So if there ever is an issue, they'll just contact you to check. Okay.
I mean, just tell them.
I just talked to everybody.
You have to. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Okay, can I call the question? All in favor of the motion? It's carried, thanks very much. Now we have the museum collections policy. Just can I pause, sorry, one moment and say, I know you have to leave in about 20 minutes. I don't think we're gonna get right to the end of the agenda in
That's
20
okay.
minutes.
That's what it is, right?
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
So
sure
the
you guys
option
will
is-
so what's wrong with me.
okay, I just didn't know if the election question was of concern. I'll do that up. Okay.
No question, no concerns?
Okay, good.
You wanna throw your hat in the ring?
Pardon?
You wanna throw your hat in the ring?
Throw my hat in there.
He'll say,
Be the new
"Walk
chair."
before the nominations are made."
I'll do whatever the team wants.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So we do have Alessia, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Let me turn the volume down on this little fellow. Oh, here. Here it is.
I thought I could control it on. Can you say test, Alessia?
Test.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, just give me a moment here. I'm just pulling up, a second. Okay.
Just before we start on that, I just want to ask if the board has any particular questions they want to have addressed or in terms of the policy content.
What a specific thing that needs to be de-accessed?
The accession, yeah.
Yep. I just wondered if the Gray Roots Museum did agree to take these windows, the objects.
I don't think we've gotten that far.
No, we have. Nope, no, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Okay.
But just generally in terms of how the policy is written, you want to know if we have any questions.
Yeah, just maybe save some time rather than getting a large explanation if you don't have a lot of questions.
I just,
Joanne?
a general question. And maybe it's obvious, but the archives, so in museum and archives, so the archives themselves as a separate entity is that property of the MPL or is that property of the town of the Blue Mountains?
So we have BMPL owns most of it, but we do hold in trust a couple of fonds for the town of Blue Mountains, for the Beaver Valley Agricultural Society, and the Lions Club. So we have some of their records that have been given to us over the years to hold in trust. We don't actually own them. We're just keeping it for them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if there's any general questions about the policy, then do you want to go deal with the particular deaccessioning item? Because there is a board role in that.
Mhm. So I can. Okay. So the items that are proposed for deaccessioning, it's a large white kind of 7.5 foot door, as well as several windows. So these objects were accessioned in 2008. So when the museum opened as part of 2008 042 donation, which came from the Craigleith Heritage Committee. They haven't been permanently integrated into the museum's collection. So they actually haven't been given physical numbers and accepted right into the cataloging system. So there are a total of 3 doors, one of which is an entry door, which we are keeping. Then there are 2 shutter doors that are both 7.5 feet tall. And then there's 12 windows in total from various sizes. There was a note attached to these items as we were going through over the years. We just kind of moved them from place to place since 2016 when BMPL took over. It just said go to the accession folder for that accession number. And so when I reviewed the contents of the folder, there were email correspondence, handwritten notes, but nothing about these doors or windows. So the kind of the oral story that goes behind the doors and windows is that they came from the Depot Fine Dining restaurant. So when the committee was renovating the building between 2002 and 2008, they obviously removed the windows and doors and replaced them with maybe a little bit more sturdier doors than the ones we have today. And they kept them just as a way to show what they would have looked like at the time of the Depot Fine Dining. However, in the font, there was no, mention of the provenance or the provenience of these doors and windows. So we're not actually sure if they actually did come from the Depot Fine Dining restaurant, just because there was no written notes about it. We did some research about the doors. We looked at old photographs. We actually got in contact with some of the diners who were close friends of the Nabmans who spent a lot of time in the building. And all of them said the windows were similar windows that they would have seen at many of the chalets around Craigleith. And they definitely did not remember the white 7.5 foot doors. So realistically, without they don't really hold particular significance, and due to the lack of the provenance and the provenience. So to optimize storage space and to prioritize the care of other artifacts and our eventual growth of more material, because they do take up a very large portion of our basement, we're hoping to deaccession them. So we've kept 2 of each window that were in better shape than some of the other ones, and we've kept one of the 7.5 foot doors, which is a normal museum procedure, to keep the best of the collection rather than keeping all of it. We just keep the ones that are in better shape and remove the others from the collection. So yeah, in total, it'll be 1 single shutter door and then 6 windows of various sizes, all of which have their paints missing. A lot of them are missing panes of windows, or the windows themselves are cracked, so they are a hazard to the staff and the collection too.
So you're recommending how to dispose of them?
So there's 2. Oh yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. I think
there's 2 real options that we would prefer to go with. The one is offering it up to the other museum. So we're going to offer some of them up to Grey Roots so that they can have a piece of the Depot Fine Dining history, because it falls under their mandate, having been part of the Blue Mountains and Collingwood Township. The other option is if they don't want them, we will unfortunately would have to dispose of them by going to the dump with them.
on that question of the dump, the way you just described the windows, I remember taking some windows that sound like what you're talking about to reuse at Center,
Yeah.
Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah,
And people turn them into other
things.
So I wonder if that's an option for disposing of them.
We can look at it. Most time museums don't they usually just get rid of them. But I can look to see if other local museums have done that kind of thing. But I know for the most part, it's either just giving it to another museum or transferring it to another museum, or just, unfortunately, throwing it out. But I definitely can look into that option as well.
Okay.
Is there anything in terms of a conflict with does the reuse center sell them?
Yeah, they sell them.
And then
Yes.
what do they do with that money? Is there like any conflict of
No, they don't have-
or something?
I don't think there's a conflict. I mean, what they would do is if they sell them, then they end up with some cash, and it's Habitat for Humanity, so it goes into building houses.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not a charity. Okay, yeah.
Is
Joanne?
there, is the idea of sending them straight to the landfill so that if it wasn't a broken door or broken window and it was something that could be potentially of value, that someone doesn't get their hands on it that shouldn't, so there's no fighting over who gains financial gain from it? Is
So
that
we
the
wanna-
idea?
Yes, that's basically the idea. We do want to move away from selling items, because we don't want to put, prioritizing the monetary value of an object over their cultural and historical significance. This can undermine our institution's core mission, and it also can erode public trust if we do it that way as well. I think that's where it goes, is that a lot of people are giving it to us in trust that we're going to keep these items. We do try to do our best and keep all of the items that fall under our collection policy, but sometimes duplicate items come through that are in better condition. They've accepted too many, and we do have to get rid of them to make room for other parts of our history. So we do want to kind of go away from prioritizing the money side, even though we aren't gaining any money from it. It is not a normal thing that museums do. Practice, yeah.
I'm the third person here that
It's a little
said.
analogy. It's like if you have children and they have beautiful artwork and you can't keep all of their artwork, sometimes you sneak it into the garbage when they can't see it. You don't want to have any evidence, you know, if you did send it, I mean, I'm environmental. I don't like to throw anything away that can be reused, but if you send it to the landfill, then is someone gonna see it at the landfill? Should it be destroyed? Or if you send it to Habitat for Humanity, is someone gonna then come back on the museum and say, hey, you shouldn't have given this away? Like, you don't want to get flack from people.
And I still will look into the
Yeah, what are you
Habitat and Humanity,
suggesting?
though.
Do you want them?
No, I read in the policy that we can't take
We
it.
can't take it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your response, Alicia.
I still will look into the Habitat and Humanity because technically we're not profiting from it. But it is that kind of slippery slope kind of scenario. So, but I will reach out to maybe some other museums who have who've done more deaccessioning. Unfortunately, our museum hasn't done much deaccessioning, and that's why we have a shortage of space.
Well, now
So
we're
just
gonna have a
for-
policy too.
Yes, can I just clarify, just from Alessia, from a provenance perspective, did I hear, so the doors, you have confirmed that they are in fact from the restaurant, the windows, it's a question mark.
No, the doors as well. We do know the one door that we are keeping was from the restaurant based on photographs. But the other two doors, they're 7.5 feet tall. I'm not sure if anyone has been into our building, but they would have been used in the kitchen because they actually had kitchen instructions pinned to it. And the ceiling in our where the kitchen would have been in the depot is not 7.5 feet tall. It's too short. So we're assuming it might have come. So the Craigleith Heritage, that donation, there's other items in that donation that we have kept, and it is very much the committee going out and collecting items of historical significance. So it could have been from another local restaurant, or they chose it as a display piece. We do find that some of the windows had been used to decorate the building and putting exhibits on them. So that's why we're a little bit iffy on whether or not they were actually part of the restaurant because they were used for other things and the lack of written record about them.
Yeah, I think where that helps from a decision in my mind is that if we haven't confirmed that we know that they're provenance, we can say these were, we are officially getting rid of Craigleith restaurant materials. Well, at this point, what we are decommissioning, excess, whatever the word is, of items that we couldn't validate, I think also helps the decision on whether or not we could, if they go to a restore, if they go somewhere. I mean, I was originally gonna say, if we know they're from the diner, we should auction them. We can fundraise because there's lots of people, but if we don't know their provenance or for sure.
And also,
I even wonder about keeping in one window if we don't know, but that's, super space.
You gotta go down into that basement.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm like, every inch counts. Anyway, thank you, that's the question.
Okay. Any other questions?
no, I think it's good that you're keeping some, because the thought is there, but just not the need to keep the ones that are sort of falling apart.
Exactly. We want to try and, even though we don't know where they came from, by keeping a few of them, at least we have a record of them still, and then just getting rid of some of the other ones just to make space. And they are falling apart, unfortunately.
Okay, well then can I have a mover and a seconder for the motion that the board approve the museum collections policy as presented, and that the board approve the deaccession of 7 windows and 1 door donated to the museum by the CHC. Okay, Carol. And I saw Marie. Any further discussion? All in favor? Great, that's carried. Thank you, Alicia. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks. I'll follow up with you after.
Okay.
Okay,
I just find the whole discussion very fascinating.
it is.
It's very interesting.
So the next policy is the BNPL holiday schedule for next year. And the reason we see that is that it actually lists a combination of staff holidays, but also holidays that are approved by the board specifically. And so this is a motion to approve the 2025 BNPL holiday schedule as presented. May I have a mover and seconder? Sean and Julia, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Carried. Okay, update and discussion, Ontario Library Service Board Assembly rep. Oh, no, actually, I had to put that under other business as well for the actual report, but you can do it either way, I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Why don't you go now?
Well, so Jen, would you show the slides, please? I won't, I'll just speak to the slides quickly, briefly. It was a long meeting, longer than I was expecting, but, and for some people like me, it was our first time attending. So it was very informal, and the presenter was Alexandra, I forget her last name.
Taylor, maybe?
So just the main one, there were 2 documents that she shared with us afterwards. She was very good at answering everyone's questions. The main focus was updates from the different organizations with all the acronyms. So that was, yeah.
Okay.
Awful, whatever, yeah. Oh, yes. So what I referred to a little bit earlier was they mentioned some PD opportunities, professional learning, so there was an education.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we didn't really do the welcoming introductions at the beginning, that she wanted to sort of save that for a little bit later. Yeah, so if you just go ahead, we'll quickly just skim through each one.
Okay, cool.
So these are, basically she focused on these training opportunities, so we can, we could email this package to everyone, I guess, Jen, easily.
Yeah.
And then if you follow the link, then there's some training opportunities that you could follow through it. And
I will send that.
you can sign up for that if you. And
Well, it
this-
says fall, like,
Well,
which
they-
are already passed,
Yes.
winter is coming soon, so.
Yeah, except they recorded all of these.
Okay,
So there are live training opportunities, but a lot of these they've also been
Oh,
recorded
okay.
Oh,
on
that's neat.
Zoom. Yeah, so the next one as well. Recordings are available from the virtual conference. And they'll continue to do it that way, so you can look into sessions. I think that was the end of October, wasn't it?
No, it was this month. I think it was a week or 2 ago. I started watching one of the recordings, but I haven't made it very far. It was the keynote on AI.
Oh, that would be interesting.
The speaker is really out there, but
the AI is really out there.
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, I'd love to watch that.
we did send staff too, if anyone wanted to know.
Okay, and they talked about, they're interesting, so they were talking about pay equity. And this brought up a whole discussion. One of the libraries was asking how they determine how they pay their CEO. So I was texting Lori and saying, how did that work? And so she actually told me about how it was equivalent with the fire chief. So different people were asking how they do that, and they were suggesting kind of crowdsourcing and asking other libraries how they decide to do it. And it was a good opportunity to ask questions and to do some networking. So that was interesting, and another opportunity for learning, I guess. And so we talked about Apple, and that's what there was another discussion about this too. Like, do library boards fund their CEO to take this course, or just partially fund it? So we are funding you, right?
Yes,
Yay.
I did apply for the scholarship, but I didn't get it.
Okay.
But I think based on the communication, they only choose 2 people.
I don't remember.
So yes, but the board graciously funded this through the 2025 budget.
And they highly recommended it. So some of these updates were interesting. Talking about the operating grant. Yeah, some of this kind of was presented fast and furiously, and I was trying to answer 2 calls from my father, 1 call from my mother, and someone coming to the door to sell me fudge at the same time. So.
Fudge,
Some of
good.
it's a little fuzzy.
Did you buy the fudge? That's the important
Yeah.
question.
Is is the typical week survey the statistics that we report?
Partially. So we have I'll submit all of our stats to the province in around like April. But then and part of that, there's a small section for typical survey week.
Yeah,
And we just completed our typical survey week, I think about 2 weeks ago. And that's just a section of the larger.
right.
Yeah.
But that's where last year we got caught in, not caught, but, we had a really busy week, the typical
Yes.
week. So
Yeah.
this year, I'm expecting that unless you picked a typical, another busy week, it's gonna show a decrease.
We do. I mean, we get told there's like a specific time period you're supposed to do
Yeah.
it. It's, I think,
Remember?
actually,
Yeah.
it opened a little bit later this year.
It was.
But you
craft.
have to purposely, it's in the fall, winter, and you have to purposely select a week where there's no holiday. So it's supposed to be sort of
Yeah.
your typical week.
Cause last year we didn't pick a typical week. We had a really busy week.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe for
the,
library.
Craft fair, the Christmas fair.
Okay.
That's what you said anyway.
Yeah. The other thing too, though, is the museums. It would be nice to do it in the summer from the museum's perspective, because that's a typical week for the museum where we're in reduced hours now. So there's really, yeah.
Anyway,
It's-
that's okay.
But yeah, they're related, but they're two separate exercises.
Question, does this mean that the financial reporting, are we within this? Do we get more than?
Oh, no, that doesn't apply to us.
Yeah.
So we just, that just means we don't have to submit our audited financial statements as part of the process.
Steve McMahon, sir. Yeah. Season.
Hey, one is that way.
Okay, so, and the next one, I think, has other updates from other organizations, yeah. Okay, so this is where I put in about the Ontario Digital Public Library. So, yeah, if you could clarify that for us there. Do you want to expand it?
So it doesn't exist yet, technically. But it's been a priority for Focal for a number of years now, and they've actually had a lot of momentum from both Liberal and Conservative governments. So this is their number one priority that they're sort of pushing at the provincial level, and it's to actually fund an official digital library. The gist is that it would provide, it would really help some of our rural libraries, but it would just expand access to digital resources.
Would it be administered through the libraries though? Or would it be administered provincially?
My understanding is it would be, I need to look into that.
Yeah, because would
Again.
that impact the,
I have information, that I can also share with the board on the Ontario Digital Public
it'd be
Library.
interesting.
But I
Because
need to revisit it. I haven't looked in it.
if it's done provincially, wouldn't it impact the rural libraries then? Because people would go to the provincial digital.
Well, I think the argument is a lot of rural public libraries don't have the funding to purchase digital resources. So it would increase all of our ability to.
But I think a
access.
better model, and of course, this is not really, you have no influence, but a better model would be to have the digital here and then each library accesses it and gets administered by each library so that it doesn't impact the amount of people going to the libraries or using it or like.
I'll have to revisit.
Yeah.
I actually I don't fully remember what the model actually looks like, admittedly.
It's probably just a broader one of what we already have. And then it
What
would
kind of resources are they talking about?
save money locally.
They're not talking about ebooks. They're not talking about reading. They're talking about reference material.
No, my understanding was it is ebooks.
Is it okay? That's my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would make a recommendation that we put this onto our next
Yeah, I think so.
meeting. I think it's interesting to understand what's being proposed.
Well, the other thing too, actually, I have to reach out to, for a focal, neighboring CEOs. We're all going to request a meeting with our MP, to talk about the Ontario Digital Public Library. That's sort of something that Focal has asked us to do. So I need to do some of my homework before setting that.
That's kind of great.
And PP.
Because that'd be January.
I'm thinking, I mean, does it become a question of, you know, are we participating in that as well as our own? Because we're also really just, yeah.
Like, what's the impact of it?
Essentially, it's like how many digital libraries or access to different, you know, do I have my Amazon Prime and I have my Kindle and I have whatever. I'm just curious.
So it's interesting that Jen's mentioning that they're encouraging to have those relationships, just like we're building the relationships with the council members. And they're pointing out that there's been the change with the, because we know that the education minister is still done on now. And the tourism, culture and gaming commissioner changed as well. So we can, you know, share our feelings of priority for that.
So I've noted that we can put like the ODPL as a sort of background information on probably the January, but it may depend on your timing when you have to compile.
And I don't think it's happening immediately.
No,
either, so.
It may never happen.
No,
It's been on the
there's
books
time
for a
to
decade.
discuss the impacts of it. Yeah.
Yes, but it's
Yeah.
good, you know, good background, understand it.
Okay, and I don't think there's a whole lot more in the couple. Oh, yes, this responding, the campaign libraries are for everyone. They want to just bring that to our attention about focusing on book banning, censorship, and so on, intellectual freedom. Then you can read the ideas about, okay, so spring, so I will attend the spring board assembly meeting when they let me know when it is. So if anyone has any questions or, like, it is kind of good to reach out to other boards. So if you have any questions you can think of that you'd like me to forward to this group of people, then let me know if you're thinking of that in the back of your mind. And they did, so the next section, I believe, is the education part. So they wanted to teach us about policy development. There was a bit of a discussion and sort of a debate about what would be a policy and what would be a procedure. Their example was if there was bed bugs found in your library, what would you do? Would that be a procedure or a policy? And the whole discussion about that be a procedure. So yeah, so it goes on to, there's another whole document about some bullet points, but also a whole document about setting up policies. And are you being proactive or reactive? And there are instances where either one would apply. And if your library board needs some support, there's a whole document for that.
So what was it, the bed bug example, was it more of a procedure than a policy?
Yes.
Is that the conclusion at the end of the exercise? Yeah, okay.
That came up at our CEO networking meeting too.
And then it just, it goes through the step by step. I think we're on top of policies.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you need some more PD on policies, then you can read the document. And then, I guess we've done some consideration. So we are already dealing with idea.
That's good.
Or on top of them.
Did they talk about AI policy at all?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, something, yeah. And then they have sample policies. So if we were working on a certain policy for a specific thing, then we could reach out to them. This Trail Network Library doesn't exist. It's just fake in their examples that we can use as models or as templates. Okay, so, and they're updating those currently. Cool. And then when they asked for, is there anything else people want to bring up? I put out the question, has anyone expanded their library facilities? And do you have any resources or ideas to share with us? And this gentleman, I forget his name, he posted on the chat an example from Barrie. So it was like Volt. I forget, I think I sent you a copy of it, or I put it in my OneDrive. But it was kind of like the presentation that we did to council, similar to Volt. It was like economic benefits of the library. So we shared that. And
So we're going down the right track.
yes. So that's
Is it called the library's contribution to the community? Ring any bells? So while you're looking for that, can I also ask, so the board assembly, do they meet twice a year now?
Yes.
So kind of May, June, and October, November?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna add that to our annual agenda, so there's a report for those meetings. And we would actually normally this meeting appoint the rep for next year. And you sound very interested, so I have a motion to appoint Marie Swift as our.
More than 10 minutes last year.
I have lots of people to choose from.
Yeah.
So
I've
choose-
got a lot, choose somebody else.
Okay, well, I choose Julia and Joanne, moved and seconded that the board appoint Marie as a rep to the Board Assembly for 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can't, it's an economic impact document, economic impact report. Now, it goes back to 2018. But it's like an overview of the benefits of direct tangible benefits, technology access.
Is that publicly available?
Yes.
Okay.
I think. Send me the link to it on our website, but I'll send it, I can email it.
Yeah, that would be good to read.
Yeah, it's sort of. And that's about it. So, yeah, let me know if there's anything you want me to pass along for the next step.
Great, thank you.
I'll send this out too.
The next item is a staff representation at the OLA conference. It was a verbal update from you, right?
Yes, so I'll be partnering with the town or the Collingwood Public Library CEO and both of our directors from our respective municipalities that sat on the MRFA project team. We're gonna be leading a session together at conference. It's on the Thursday. I'll send out the time. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think it'll be a really exciting opportunity, especially to see sort of that library municipal collaboration. And that's really going to be the focus of our session. We're still fleshing out a few other things. And hopefully by the time we're actually presenting, we'll have more information about the outcome of the study, because I imagine we'll get a lot of questions about that too. We'll speak to sort of the challenges of partnering, but also sort of the opportunities, the things that we learned, that kind of thing.
Is it going to be online stream, like we can watch it?
No, I don't believe so. It will be in person, and
Accessible afterwards, maybe if they tape it.
I don't think it will be recorded. I'll double check though. I think like their keynotes, they'll be recording those. But what's interesting is one of the consultants, Kate, that led sort of the community engagement, she was actually, we didn't notice this until the schedule was released. She's one of the keynote speakers for the board boot camp session.
Yeah.
And then do you want me to talk about board boot camp too?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So we were also invited by the Ontario Library Association to speak on a panel session at the board boot camp about MOUs and the development of the MOU between the Blue Mountains Public Library and the town of the Blue Mountains. So actually both Lori and Sabrina will be speaking at that session. I had nothing to do with the MOU, so I didn't really feel comfortable speaking about it. The only thing I did highlight though is that when I did work for Great Highlands and worked on the MOU, the Blue Mountains Public Library's MOU was like the gold standard, and that was really the foundation for a lot of those conversations. So just another really exciting opportunity for us at the conference. And then actually Ashley Prince, who is our digital literacy programmer, she leads the Wired Wednesdays, any sort of tech support. She also is leading a session at OLA. I'll be convening it on the Friday morning. So we're going to have a lot of representation at OLA this year.
He's good.
which is great.
Now you buy an institutional, access registration?
I haven't bought anything just yet. I wanted to wait until I knew today, okay, how many board members are we sending? I have a couple of staff memberships I'll have to renew too. But we are going to send three staff, including myself, and then I guess, well, Lori, you'll be going as well.
Or just for the Saturday?
Just for the Saturday, yeah. Okay.
And as a speaker, my registration's covered anyway, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're speaking?
About the MOU.
Oh, on the MOU, right.
With Sabrina.
Oh, with Sabrina, okay.
So is there anybody else interested in attending?
Where is it?
It's in a convention center, drama convention center in Toronto. So Joanne,
Not this year for me.
no,
Sorry, what are the dates again?
It's the end of
In January.
January. I think it's the
30th, is this Thursday?
yeah, it's this week.
February 1st is a Saturday.
Yes, so the 29th to the 1st, but looking at the board though, like most of the board sessions are on the Saturday. That's the board boot camp. That doesn't mean that there aren't sessions that you'd be interested in attending during the week, but most of it is sort of the Thursday and Friday, or Thursday to Saturday for board members, I would say is. I can send out the schedule as well. The Tuesday, it's normally just like pre-conference sessions. I went for the whole week last year, and yeah, the Tuesday, Wednesday, it's really kind of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday that you'll probably want to take a look at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not 100% sure. I've been trying to cut back on some of my travel, but, this is, different. Let me look. See, but you're going?
I will, I'm actually gonna be in Toronto on the 1st anyway. So, I mean, I can go earlier. Yeah. So I would like to, yeah.
I'm okay.
No?
Yeah, if someone, like, if we wanted to limit and someone really wants to go, then I'd be more than happy to have someone else go. Because I don't think every board member needs to go.
Well, I'll just be going for the Saturday anyway. You interested in the 3 days? Or just the Saturday?
I have to look at.
Yeah, sure, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me look at the agenda, right?
Sure.
You're fine, yes.
Mhm. And we budgeted 4 people to go to this.
Mhm.
Well, you'll need accommodation, right?
No,
Mileage, take your mileage.
yeah, we can see about that. I'm flying out on the 2nd anyway on a ski trip. So all I'm really having to do is be coming down the Saturday anyway. I'd be coming down in time to take a hotel room to fly out the next morning. Now I'm gonna come down 12 hours earlier. That's really the only difference for me. So I probably don't need any funding at all. Yeah, because I'm free at Saturday and I'd be taking the mileage anyway. So really it's just a matter of, is there a hotel room? It depends on how many nights people want to stay.
And where's the schedule? Is it, they say it's not out yet, cause
It
is
is.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So
I can send that out.
why don't we look at the schedule and then,
But I'll put this in an email too, because there's early bird prices, so we'll want to figure this out. I do know the hotel that is attached to the conference center is sold out already this year, but there are a couple of other options too.
Is Chris still with us?
no,
No.
I think she left some time ago.
Should do.
Do we need a motion about this at all, or, we know for sure one person's planning on going and possibly 2? What do we need? What do you need from us to know what to do?
I don't think I need, I'll just communicate via email, send all of the stuff out, and then book it.
Okay,
We've already approved, what did you say, 4 people? It's already been budgeted for, I guess.
yeah, I don't know how many people, but you said 4 people? I don't know that how many people, because it depends on how many days, whether you
Right,
go
sorry.
to.
Yeah.
So there's money set aside. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just don't know how far it goes depending what people want to do. I don't remember what the dollar amount is either. I don't know, $2,000 or $3,000, but that was for all of our stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what, but she can figure that out, see what people are interested in, and see what we can afford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that administrative stuff kind of, okay.
I can probably find a couch to sleep on. I'm a few friends.
That's often better, frankly, these conferences, just get kind of overwhelmed, it's kind of nice to get out. Not be there that night.
Yeah.
So the next item is the empowering services. So that is CEO update for November.
Well, the only thing I missed was I sent out today, and I just got it today, there was for BMPL in the news, we did, On the Bay did an interview with both myself and Doris Heffron. It was just another really big event that we held in October. It was her 80th birthday, her retirement party, and the launch of her final novel. So we were planning that since February, and it was an awesome event. I kind of even forgot we did the interview, but that just came through today. Just going through here. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
At the library. That's a photo of Doris in front of the sign. She was really excited. We did our first escape room, which was a huge success. And obviously the staff had a lot of fun too. That's Jen Dominguez, if you can't recognize her. She has a lot of fun with dressing up.
One day I said to her, "You look like, where's Waldo?" I don't know, I kind of thought maybe I shouldn't have said that, but like she had his cap on and a straight.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
She's really cute, yeah.
If you haven't seen it too, we did a social media post with all of us dressed up for Halloween, and it's kind of funny.
You're scarily like Wednesday. I was like, okay.
Just looking through. This was actually a neat event, and it just came up when the chair of the ACC was just having a conversation with one of the artists at an art opening. All of a sudden, okay, we're going to do this event. And so the artist, Michelle Fleming, she did like a program where people could bring all of their artwork and critique the process. So it was a really big success. I think we're actually doing it again.
Yeah.
Something we experimented with. But cultural map is booming. I'm actually planning for my final blog post. I think the theme will be about glams and kind of focusing on sort of the museum side of things. And just one final thing. We did return to a normal statistic for our library board views. So September is just weird. We don't know what happened.
We bored them to death in September, I guess. Funny counting.
I know.
Okay, any questions about that?
No, it's great stuff.
Yeah, I love all the pictures.
Yeah.
It really brings it all to
Yeah,
life.
it's really good.
Good job, Jen.
Thanks. Well, this is collaborative. Everyone
Yeah.
puts their stuff in.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay, so the next is roundtable. Is there anything anyone wants to comment on or add to this list?
I did have a question about the new org structure that I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I meant to ask Sean.
I completely forgot about that. And I really don't have
Yeah, it's.
Much
something
information.
mentioned A change that they hadn't anticipated, so it was really a question as to whether or not, so the org structure for the town and staff that is implemented or approved in June, but it's taking place like over 18 months.
And it's all public information?
And it's all public, yeah. It was someone who mentioned it, asking that something, they were under the impression that there was a change to it or something, and I was more curious, but if you have anything, I'll show it. Yeah.
I don't have any information really,
Yeah.
other than just, now Tim Hendry is the Director of Strategic Initiatives.
Yeah.
I feel like there's still a really big economic development communications role to what he's doing.
Yeah. there is.
But otherwise, I haven't.
Yeah, so now Ryan's, yeah, in looking at it, because I was kind of curious, went down the rabbit hole, but now Ryan's also, it's like facilities, like fleet management, so there's also sort of operations under him. And, yeah, and then it was interesting from the, just literally how the organization chart was put us back to, was previously, it was mayor, and then, fire services and library were sort of, like reporting to mayor and council, and then CAO and the structure was underneath. Now, library and fire services are dotted line to CAO. So it's I don't know if it's material, I don't know, but I'm not sure where or what the thing, there was no explanation of.
Oh,
So what does the dotted line mean?
What does a dotted line mean? I'm not really sure.
typically a dotted line is like indirectly reporting, but if the yeah, I'd have to look at it. I haven't seen,
Mhm.
there's been like from an internal sort of perspective, like we have a staff intranet that has, it would have our organizational structures, library has its own section, all town staff can see it. The town structure, I did look at it after you had sent out that email, and apart from Tim being sort of moved, I didn't notice any other, internally, there was nothing communicated about that.
I think the dotted line relationship basically says this is the primary person that you have, contact with when you need to connect with the town. Dotted line is to the CAO. It's not to anybody junior to that, and that's appropriate.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just moved from mayor and council to CAO.
Oh, it was the dotted line before used to go to the mayor and council?
Yeah,
Oh. And now it goes to the CEO
no,
CAO.
or CAO.
yeah.
So to me, that would mean that the communications from the library would go to the CEO and then up to the mayor.
That's, yeah. I
At
think
the staff
that's
level,
It's an understand.
at the staff level, but at the governance level, we still do direct with the council. I don't think this is an org chart
Yeah,
for staff.
Hmm.
I can always, bring it up at the next meeting I have with, the CAO.
Yeah, to see what the impact to the library is. on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't met for a couple of months, so it's possible that that was on the agenda.
Because I'm sure that was discussed before they added the dotted line. So the CAO must have been part of some discussion on why the dotted line would go to him rather than to the mayor and council.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it would be good just to understand what the thing is. So
You guys on top of everything, Jenny.
honestly, if somebody, I would never have thought about it. Someone else, I can remember, it was a different conversation, like, oh yeah, they changed this, but they said they were doing that, and anyway,
Well, well, it's a good observation.
then I said, oh, look at that.
So next is the key messages update. I jotted down a few items that would appear on it and looking for more suggestions, but mentioning the board evaluation completed
Mm-hmm.
annual evaluation, that we completed the CEO's annual evaluation.
And that we commend.
And I would include that's what I was just working on, is that word, the commendation. New policies, particularly the new policies are the video surveillance. And I think that's a good time to mention that there are cameras now.
Yeah.
People should be aware of that. The museum collections policy, that is new as well.
Mm-hmm.
Other ones are really just updates, right? I'm not too concerned about those.
Board assembly rep.
Board assembly rep, good one. And you'll have a new chair and vice chair to include. Anything else that occurs to people that we should be including?
Do we want to do another MRFA update?
We should mention that date that's coming up if there's the report of that. That's not us to announce, is it?
I don't think so. And I know that they're still waiting on Collingwood too, so,
What about,
but yeah, I would want them to, the town to announce it before we do.
what about the Volt presentation we gave? Was that in the last months or?
Yes, and I included it in the November newsletter too, with a link. to
And
the
you did, when you
presentation.
introduced the speaker, you did a great job.
Thank you.
She did the
Oh,
library's more than
mentioned
just
it,
book
yeah.
statement.
Okay, good.
With Ted Barris. I think we had 125 people in the room, so, including one counselor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was, she was next to my dad. It was the first event he ever came to.
Oh, it was a great event.
Sorry, actually, I think that is it worth calling out in the messages that we're very happy with the participation and we're to the library programs that we're seeing,
I'll take good,
uptake and
Well,
attendance.
yeah, but what statistics are we referring to that we would then?
Yeah, did we see a big uptake? Yeah, because.
Yeah, we don't, that goes back to what are we measuring and,
Sure, and then I was starting to go down there was a wait list for that, so
We could mention that article about the museum.
I was just gonna say the
Yeah,
Canadian,
that's a great-
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that should be,
yeah, the Canada.
The railroad.
Yeah,
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 Canadian Rail Magazine.
yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. So, mover and seconder, the board approved the release of the key messages update for November. Julia, thank you.
I'll second.
Joanne, thank you. All in favor? Carrie, thanks very much. Notice the next meeting is, yes, I read. Yeah, okay, well, notice the next meeting is January 16th at 1 PM.
that's not in the calendar yet. Our meetings for 2025.
Like your personal calendars or the library's calendar,
Well, whatever I click on.
like your Outlook
Yeah,
calendar.
yeah,
I think the rooms are booked. I can send out those invites.
yeah, because
Okay. Let me go to that.
I think I'm away in the February one. But I wasn't 100% sure, so we may want to, maybe we'll move that if we can. Or maybe we should talk about that today.
So then, we're in the closed session, so we're now doing the election of chair and vice chair, and I will hand the, gavel, so to speak, over to Jen.
Okay, so annually in November, we conduct elections for the chair and vice chair positions. It's led by the CEO. Once the elections are finished, the new chair, which will be the case today, as Lori did give notice last year that this will be she will be stepping down as chair. The new chair will adjourn the meeting. So maybe before we get into the elections, I do want to thank Lori, especially, I mean, my perspective as a new CEO. I think it says a lot about you that you chose to stay on an additional year with the best interest of the library. You didn't have to do that. And I've definitely looked at you as a mentor. You've taught me a lot. And I really value your leadership. So thank you. I don't know if anyone else.
Yeah. Years have you been chair, Lori?
Just 2 or 3, not that long.
Because you were before.
I guess 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3.
And so when we say annually in November, that's only within the mandate of the current board. Because when we came on, we started in January, which would be the same next time, right? When there's a new council, there's a new
When is the next election? 2026?
Six.
Yeah.
2 more years, yeah.
Yeah.
So in our multi-year agenda, that's where we put the election on the January for year one. Otherwise, it's in November.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but you can
but
stay
yeah.
on for more than 1 year. You just have to, get reelected each time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lori.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The patience of a saint, really.
And
All these new
organization,
people. Yeah.
memory.
And we're like,
Yes.
what? How is this done?
What do those letters mean?
Okay. So with that said, I'd like to call for nominations for our chair position.
I nominate Julia.
Okay. I have a nomination for Julia from Marie. Do I have a seconder? Carol? I have a seconder. Julia, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Yay, Julie. Thank you, Julie.
You can still twist my arm if you wanna. No? Okay.
I missed though. Did we have any other nominations for chair? None? Okay, well, congrats, Julia. You are our new chair until next November, unless for any other circumstance, the chair steps down before the term ends or is reelected. Okay. On to vice chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate you.
Joanne?
I'll second. Are you
Okay,
second?
so Carol nominated Joanne. And that is seconded by, I have Marie. Joanne, do you accept the nomination?
Thank you, Julie.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? None? Congratulations, Joanne. You are the new vice chair. Okay. So with that said, I will now pass the chair back to Julia.
I was a little surprised when I saw this the other day. Okay, so, well, thank you, everybody, and, should I just move into adjournment? Yes, okay, so, I would like a motion to adjourn at 4:09 PM. So Marie, seconded by Joanne, all in favor? Thank you.